Now, bear in mind that even, I would say, a couple of decades ago, it was unheard of for women to go bankrupt. Partly, yes, because fewer women worked and it would be men who were in charge of the finances. It wouldn't be an issue. But partly also because women weren't perhaps expected to be irresponsible with their cash. Women were expected to be the responsible ones. That's why things like child benefit for all these decades have been paid to the mum, not the dad. There was this view that some dads would take the money and go and spend it down the pub or in the bookies, and it wouldn't be seen again. But mothers would always do the right thing, and they would have their household budget and they would put that money in and it would be spent on the right things. But things are changing a lot more. Women are earning more, no question at all, but they're also getting into more debt. They're taking on more, able to get credit cards, able to get store cards, able to gamble as well. Very socially acceptable for women to gamble now. Go back 30 years? Absolutely not. Very unusual for a woman to gamble, other than, going to the bingo maybe. So what I want to know is, why do you think young women are twice as likely to go bust as young men? I would particularly like to hear from you if you have had money troubles, whether you actually made bankrupt or declared insolvent, or it didn't go that far, but you got into debt and you really had to rein the spending in. If you're a young woman or a young man, I'd like to hear from you on that. If you're older, you've got some wisdom on this issue, I'd like to hear. Maybe it was actually your son or daughter who got into money troubles. One of the suggestions on this is that it's young women pursuing a celebrity lifestyle, trying to basically be in Heat magazine in terms of their designer clothes, their designer bags, the manicures, the pedicures, the hairdos, the hair extensions, the this, the that, when actually they're on a average income, and an average income doesn't cover this stuff. Tell me what you think. Why are young women more than twice as likely to go bust than young men? 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. First up, let's find out from someone who hopefully can shed some light on this. It's Melanie Giles. She's an insolvency practitioner who works with Debt Divas, which offers advice specifically aimed at women in debt. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Julia. Nice to be here.
It is an extraordinary statistic that is so stark that it's for young women, it's twice as bad as for young men. Why do you think it is?
Well, I think you need to look at spending patterns, and I think it's probably fair to say that young women probably spend more money than younger men. That there is such a pressure on lifestyle, to look good, to follow the celebrity lifestyle, and I suspect that probably the answer is in the spending patterns rather than the building of debt. But of course, debt can be a consequence of overspending, as we know.
Well, it is. I mean, fundamentally, if you spend more than you have coming in, you're going to be in debt. But isn't there a lot of pressure on young men as well to look good? A lot of that celebrity lifestyle stuff has spread to young men in terms of designer gear, a good car, spending, being a bit flash with the cash, but also gadgets. Every man I know, I hope I'm not making too much of a generalisation, but of the men I know, wow, they love their gadgets. My husband, it's like, what have you bought now? But a lot of young men are buying, there's this expectation that you will have the top of the range iPhone, the top of the range iPad, the top of the range games and things, and all of these things cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
I think that's right, and we just live in such a fast-moving society in terms of consumer spending, don't we? And the accessibility of being able to buy online and simply just click and press a button, and there you are. You've got the latest outfit or the latest gadget just simply by a few keystrokes.
Yeah.
And in the old days, when you had to actually go out with cash or your checkbook, you probably think twice before you decided, do I actually want that, and actually do I need it? It's psychological, isn't it? And what I see a lot of is women shopping for comfort, to support other issues that are affecting their lives, having a little shop or having a little spree.
Treat yourself, that notion, isn't it? Treat yourself, yes.
Takes away that problem, perhaps just for a short while, possibly causes a larger problem at a later stage, but we don't quite think that when we're getting the buzz, do we?
Is there also a problem? We've had some celebrities, like Martina McCutcheon and Kerry Katona is perhaps the key one, who've led these amazingly glamorous lifestyles, been very desirable jobs and lifestyles, and And lots of women, young women, will envy their lives, and they find out that these women have gone bust and they're in debt and it's terrible, and yet they're still in the newspapers, they're still in glamorous clothes, they still seem, on what they can see in the magazines and online, to be living a perfectly nice life. And then they always seem to bounce back, and there's a big story in the OK magazine saying how I, got my money back, or you go on Celebrity, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here in the jungle, and you make the money back that way. And in a way, the reality of going bust, having no money, being in debt, not being able to get a mortgage in the future, not being able to simply afford to do anything, including buy food, that is not really made clear to young women about the risks of being insolvent.
That's right, and I think the way the insolvency regime has relaxed over the years, it's not such a big stigma these days to go bankrupt or have had debt problems, as long as you're not a sort of repeat offender. I mean, we saw Kerry Katona last year file bankruptcy for the second time in 5 years, so the penalties for that are obviously much harsher. But there is a real sort of emphasis on everybody deserving a second chance, and we can all make mistakes as long as we learn from those mistakes. But I think, that you're highlighting the celebrity lifestyle and the want to sort of follow and share those lifestyles is contributing to this overspending. It's not just all about the sort of overspenders, it's about the people that are quite generally struggling.
Very much two sides to this,
Absolutely, and I think it's important that we recognise and we're able to sort of help those people that are struggling through no fault of their own as well.
Absolutely. Melanie, thank you for bringing us back to sanity on that one. Melanie Giles, she's an insolvency practitioner.